And then actually not in a banking center at all times. I'm more in community development. So my title is Community Development Outreach Officer, and I cover a lot of communities in Cincinnati and pretty much do what I'm doing now. I personally have been in banking for 10 years, but this is my passion. This is what I like to do. Because no one here probably could go, and I don't care what bank you go to, walk into a bank and say, hey, I need help with my credit. I don't understand credit. No one's really there to sit down with you. So I'm excited that First Financial has this position and be able to get one-on-one and kind of have you guys build relationships. So like you said, we're actually down the street. I'm not really a walker, but I feel like we're close enough that I would walk from Marlowe. So if you guys live in the area, but we're pretty much in any neighborhood. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us where on Marlowe? I didn't see a bank.
It's right on the corner.
Okay, it's in the higher. Okay, thank you.
Yep, right on the corner by the park.
Thank you.
Very small. I hope you guys are seeing the message.
The message is just that we're recording now. Yeah. I remembered to hit the button. Yeah, at the beginning. It took me 4 times.
You guys cannot tell.
It's gonna eventually go.
Oh, then it's gonna go a million.
Yes, it'll jump to 5.
So just a side note, I'm not an IT person. You guys cannot tell, I'm a normal person, right? I'm a consumer, and I like to tell people that banks are scary sometimes. They might not know a lot of things about banks. They might not know what we can offer. So feel free to ask me any questions. We'll go through this. I'll let you know what I do personally as a consumer, what I tell my friends and family to do, as well as what the banks do. You guys open your folder. We're going to go over banking basics first. And feel free throughout the seminar that if you have questions, just raise your hand. So there's pretty much 2 types of financial institutions. I'm sorry if I come up here because I can't read it sideways. So there is regular banks like I work at, like First Financial, PNC, US Bank, banks like that. We're for profit. So we actually make money off of the interest rates and things like that. There's also credit unions as well. I've never personally worked for a credit union, but they are not for profit. So a lot of credit unions, you have to be a member. To be honest with you, a lot of credit unions are going to have lower interest rates, but you have to be a member and maybe have so much in your account to bank with them. So just comparing financial institutions between the for-profit and the not-for-profit, which are banks and then credit unions. Both banks accept cash checks and wire transfers deposits, provide loans, and offer many convenience customers, including 24-hour online banking, ATMs. A lot of you, does anyone know where the location is in Collegeville? Or seen it? Okay, cool. So a lot of people don't know we have an ATM in the back and there's a drive-thru as well. Most, probably I'd say 99% of banks have ATMs and drive-thrus as well. So kind of just going over comparing them. And if you're going with me through the pamphlets, everything up here is not in the pamphlets. So I'll kind of I'll kind of refer back to them. But there is, and I believe it's in this one, kind of a take home for your budgeting to say, if you're banking with somebody, if you have a relationship, put down how much is in your bank account, how much you make. Feel free to fill that out. If you'd like to have an appointment with me, we can kind of go over it. I'd be happy to do that. But banks are for-profit businesses that make money for accountant fees and from loans, like I said, and then may have more convenient locations. So banks you're going to see more in the area. A lot of credit unions like GE Credit Union, Kemba, there's some really small credit unions I can't even think of, but they're only going to have like 1 or 2 locations. That's another downfall with going for a credit union. And then they're open to all, so anyone is eligible to join. So you can just walk in from the street and say, hey, I want to open a bank account. With a credit union, you might have to do so many things to be a member. And then, if you guys didn't know, your money is secured in the bank. We're still in COVID, but when COVID happened, I feel like half of my customers called and was like, is my money safe? So we do go by the FDIC. It secures $250,000 of your money. This kind of just goes over what's secured. So what products are actually secured? So checking accounts or credit union draft accounts. Your CDs are secured. Savings accounts are secured. Money market accounts, and money market account is just another type of savings account. Normally with the money market account, you'll have a higher interest rate, and you'll be able to kind of use it similar to a checking account. And then interest-bearing checking accounts, and also cashier checks, money orders, and other official issued by the bank. So keep that in mind. That is very, very important, and I'll kind of go over it at the end of the accounts that we have. Banking's huge, and you guys would be so surprised how many people maybe don't trust banks, maybe don't understand banks, and not even putting their money into a bank and going to a check cashing place, which kills me and hurts my heart when I find out someone's going to a check cashing place, because I work probably, let's be honest, more than 40 hours a week at 7 o'clock, and I'm doing a class. But when I get my paycheck, I know I work hard for my check. So I would hate to go to say Miss Heather works at a check cashing place, and I take her my check. She's gonna cash maybe my $1,000 check, but take $60 of it. At banks, you won't get your money taken. So First Financial has some great free accounts for everybody, wherever you're at. If you keep $1 in your account, if you keep, telling the story about your friend, $1 million in an account, the accounts are free.
But you generally do have to have an account in a bank to cash a check.
You do, unless, so say I gave you a check because you did some work at my house or something like that, and I had a First Financial account, they would cash it. First Financial will actually do it for free. I can't really speak on other banks, but I know some of them charge. If you don't have an account, they might charge you $10. Great question. So with the insurance, for the FDIC, what is not covered is stocks, bonds, life insurance products, money market funds. So pretty much anything you do with a wealth advisor at a bank is not covered. And then the earnings are owing interest. So I love to just dumb it all the way down because I don't know where everybody's at. But interest is basically what you earn on your money, or interest, if you're getting a loan, is what kind of the bank gets from you. So the more money that you put into a savings account, the more interest you're gonna earn. I feel like I like to think I'm younger than I am, probably middle or age. But our interest rates right now are very low. I've never personally seen the interest rates high. But I remember my grandmother telling me she wouldn't have that much money in her savings account and make a lot of money. So hopefully, knock on wood, the interest rates are gonna go up and we can go back to that time.
We don't want that.
18% interest? You've seen 18%?
Hear me? She's young.
Yeah.
When Carter was
I
president,
remember when
interest
Elsa
rates
was
was
12%.
12%.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, yeah.
Every time I do that.
So there's a, she was saying when he was president, it was 18%. That's amazing. Hopefully I see that one. So types of accounts, there's two kind of types of accounts that you can have. Checking accounts, so those are gonna allow you to deposit and withdraw money. This is an account a lot of people have when you have your direct deposit or just everyday charges. The savings account is just like it is. I highly suggest people, when you get a savings account, don't use it as a checking account. Because we are monitored by the government, so there is a law that you can't transfer out of your savings to your checking account so many times a month. If you do, you get charged, and there's no way that we can pay that. So definitely have your savings account for savings. And I'll kind of go over them now. I don't know if they're in the pamphlet.
Page 3.
Have some kind of all around, if you don't mind. But this is a pamphlet, and I'll be able to have some other stuff. But it's basically just our checking accounts that we have with First Financial. So we are FC Soccer. If anybody's a soccer fan, we are their bank sponsor. So that's one of my favorites because it has the card. But we also have free accounts. So all of our accounts, as long as you have online banking, you're not going to get charged at all. You can have $1 in an account. You can have $1 million in an account. As long as you have online banking and getting your e-statements, you will not get charged. The other thing we do is we have second chance accounts. So especially I talked about people going to the check cashing places. A lot of people that go to check cashing places might not be able to get an account at other banks. First Financial, if you're in check systems, which is kind of like, it's when it kind of the credit, I guess, checks for banks, so we all share the information. So what is your name? Kelly. So I'm just using her example, this is a real story, it just met her. Say Kelly owes US Bank $200. It happened, she never knew about it. It came to, I'll use Fifth Third, because we're not Fifth Third. Came to Fifth Third and say, hey, I want to open an account. They might say, you owe US Bank, you have to pay them off. And then Kelly might start going to check cashing places and giving them her money. But at First Financial, we have a second chance account. You can still get an account with us, as long as you don't owe us any money, or have any crazy fraud in your background, and it's only $10 a month. So it's $10 is probably a lot less than what you're gonna pay at the check cashing place, but you only pay $10 for the year. After the year, as long as you don't go negative on the account, you don't do anything crazy like fraud or anything, they'll switch you into a regular account. So keep that in mind. I always tell people, if you're not in that situation, hopefully you're not, we always have friends and family members that are. A lot of people don't even tell you that you're in that situation. So these are some specialized accounts. So all these accounts are kind of what the bank offers. So money market, like I said, are more types of savings accounts that typically offer a higher interest rate, definitely not 18%, but a higher interest rate than your standard savings. And then CDs. So CDs are types of savings accounts that they pay a larger, higher interest rate, but your money is capped or in that CD for a period of time. So we'll just say you won the lottery and you have $50,000. You can put it into a CD for 4 years, maybe a CD for 1 year, and your interest rate is going to be a certain amount. The thing about CDs, and I tell all my customers, make sure you don't need that money, because if you, let me pick on you again, because right there, Kelly wins the lottery, puts $100,000 in a CD, within 2 months, you need the money back. We're going to charge you to get that, to be able to give you your money. And this kind of goes over like joint accounts and custodian accounts. If anybody in here maybe has grandkids, younger kids, or anybody in high school, we do have joint accounts, and that basically is with a adult and a minor on the account. Everybody can really withdraw, everybody can deposit, but I always tell people, especially the adults, keep in mind, so I have a joint account with my niece. So say my 8-year-old niece goes crazy, and hopefully she would never do this. She's into makeup, so she buys a ton of makeup and puts the account negative. I'm responsible since I'm the adult. And the custodian, so with these accounts, the parent or the guardian may open the account in the minor's name, but only the parent or the guardian may withdraw money from the account. So selecting account. These are just questions. I'm not going to really go over this, but definitely make sure you sit down. I think it's in the pamphlet on what do you want your account for? That makes a difference. Who do you want it with? How much fees are you trying to pay? Like I said, every bank out there should really have free accounts. So definitely look into how much fees you're going to be charged. And that just lets you know to go into the banking center and say, hey, I want this checking account. This is what I'm looking for if you offer that. So this, does anyone have any questions on that?
Who owns First Financial? Did you say I didn't hear you?
I did not. So our CEO is Archie Brown.
No, I mean, is it a stock company or is it a privately owned bank?
It is not. It's a stock. It's me. And we actually, if you guys are familiar, especially with Cincinnati, you're familiar with Main Source. So we merged with Main Source. Before that, especially if you're from the west side, we were Shivian and Savings and Franklin. So we have been through a lot, but First Financial has been there 2 years. Main Source merged with First Financial for 2 years, but started in 2020. So this is just goes over opening an account. So say you want to walk in and you're like, okay, I'm ready to open my checking account. You'll be surprised how many people don't know what to bring to open a checking account. So you want to visit the bank or the credit union in person to open an account. This is kind of outdated because you can always go online as well, or you can speak with somebody like myself and say, hey, I'm looking to open an account. Can I meet you at the bank and make an appointment? So you'll want to bring 2 forms of ID, which can be a driver's license, a passport, birth certificate. So
packet, on page 8.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then provide personal details such as your address, your phone number, email address. I would say you really just need one form of ID and to know your social security. You don't have to bring your social security card there. And then have cash or a check to make your first deposit. So I would definitely make sure some banks don't let you open an account if you don't have your first deposit. And then keep in mind, I can only speak for First Financial. I would say that a million times. But once you make the deposit with us, it's only $50 to make your first deposit. And then for the minor accounts, it's $25. But that money is not like a fee. We're not charging you. You open the account with me, make the $50. You can come back in an hour and say I need to get it out. It's just to make sure it's a real account.
Do you charge, an active fee? Like if I put $50 in and let it sit for 2 or 3 years, do you charge for that?
Sure. 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They're limited. We do not, but we will send you letters to make sure that you know about the account. Because we'll send it off. So we'll definitely make sure you know about the account. I would highly suggest not to do that. Sometimes
I've heard it sit for several years.
without doing any activity. So you can do a transaction for like $1, you can do a transfer, you can. Sometimes I had somebody who didn't really do transactions, but they went online and their account wasn't in it. If it does go inactive, you might have to come in and find it before. And then you go back out. Yes, Steve? Oh,
Do
sorry.
you ask for income, how much money you make?
To open an account?
No, just in general purpose, because Fifth Third does, and I don't provide that information to them because it's
Yeah,
none of their business.
absolutely. We will not ask, that's a good question. We will not ask for your income to open a checking account. If
Okay.
you're applying for a loan or anything like that, we will have to verify.
Yeah, but I mean, they wanna try to get me to get into debt again, and I won't do that, but
Yeah, we will not ask for your income. Good question.
When, there's a thing that if money's sitting in an inactive account for a certain period of time, it reverts to the state. How long is that?
Don't know the exact time. I know definitely probably after 4 years. But we-
Unclaimed funds. they
Yes,
call it.
yes. We send a ton of letters. We even call. Any other questions? Alright, so this kind of goes over online banking, kind of for the sake of time, because if you guys have any questions, I want to give you time. Or if you have any personal questions, one-on-one time as well. So I'll kind of go through this quickly, because this part is just kind of, if you have online banking, just make sure you have your passwords. If you're using public computers, don't say that you want to save your password. I'm probably 98 years old by heart, and I would never go like a public computer and look at my bank accounts or anything like that. But you can always look them up for your phone. And then just make sure you keep your personal information safe. So this is kind of just the summary. Does anybody have, or perfect on time, any questions about just the basic banking?
You said you recommend things for your family. For your family, would you recommend a bank or a credit union?
oh,
We're being recorded. I would recommend what's best for them. And honestly, it's funny when you said that, I thought of something that I personally do. I'm a huge saver. We'll go into, I'll tell you something that I do with my credit that is just, it might not work for you. I've had family members that are like, do this. I have friends that have said, do this, and save money, and it doesn't work for them. I have some that do. I personally, when it comes to savings, I don't have all my money in one account. So I have multiple accounts. That's just me personally, because I'm hiding it technically from myself. So when I get paid, it's funny because my coworkers, every other Friday, they're like, what are you doing? You're going to the one bank and taking the money out, put it in your other account. But I get paid, I put it in one checking account. Well, my deposit comes in one checking, excuse me. And then I have my play account. So that's the account when I told you, I'm like 98 by heart. When I'm in Target, I don't care about swiping it. I don't care if they get Friday, because I know that's kind of my play account that I watch all the time. It's not my big savings. So that's what I personally would suggest. I have like a larger savings for the stuff I want to do in the future and a smaller savings. I hope that.
Sort of an envelope system.
Yes. Yeah. It works, it works.
That was one of our earlier sessions, so.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so, where's the other one?
What if you disagree with your financial advisors that says that you can have a little bit of fun, but you disagree with him and don't think that because you're a semi-tightwad? So what do you do? Like,
You might have to repeat that one more time, because I can't hear you.
I'm a semi-tightwad, so to
Okay.
me, even though I think I have money in mutual funds and
Sure.
with an investor, but I consider that all retirement. I don't consider that anything else.
Right,
But then he thinks, I just have a disagreement with my financial advisor, because
okay,
I'm really like a tightwad, so.
yeah. I would, I personally would ask for maybe a second opinion. Maybe have another financial advisor look at your,
I
You're
know.
fine.
It's just me, I know how much is in there, it's just probably me, in the way I feel about money.
yeah. So you're like me. But I would just have a second opinion, because it's your money and you work
Yeah.
hard for it. So if you don't think that they're telling you maybe the right information or you don't agree with them, have a second opinion.
I mean, it's just I think they're, saying that I don't really have to worry that much about retirement as I am,
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, I would have a second opinion, especially if I don't know where your wealth advisor is, but ours are free. To just have a meeting with,
Yeah.
and they can give you.
I trust his advice, but I just don't always agree about money advice.
Any other questions before I go on to credit? Alright, so what is the credit score? So this is probably my favorite, and kind of before I get started, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I don't think this is in the, sorry, they changed the participant guide. I think it is. No, it's not. So if you guys, would like to take a picture of this, I can put it up at the end. You can Google this, but it's crazy because a lot of people don't know like where the numbers are and where they stand. So just kind of a little background story about me, because I'm not shy to tell like my personal story. Is I grew up in a family that my parents are pretty much like, you are not getting credit whatsoever. I remember being in college and my dad back in the day, they would give out T-shirts for using the credit card. And he came with T-shirts and saying, here's a bunch of T-shirts, you don't have to apply. Like, they would be here, so apply for a credit card and you'll get this dog frisbee. So I never had to do that. So I got my mid-20s and I'm like, I need credit. One day I'm gonna wanna buy a car, one day I'm gonna buy a house, and I look like I'm literally in high school. So that's where my story with credit goes. I always thought right before I started to get credit that I had horrible credit. Little did I know I didn't have any credit at all. So a lot of things I see with customers is they don't know where their credit is or they're scared to know where it's at. And my thing is with credit, and I say with help, if you don't know where you're at, you can't move forward. You just don't know, right? I would rather know where I'm at now. So say I'm looking to buy a house in a year and I'm like, I think my credit's good. Then a year from now, I'll go to buy a house and my credit's not good, and this whole time I could be working on it. So definitely, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll tell you up front, I'm not a credit specialist whatsoever. I know because of my banking experience, I know what I've done personally, but I do have somebody who literally can look through your credit, everything that you have on your credit to get you where you want to be. And if I don't know, I will let you know.
How often does credit change, credit score?
However often the place will report it. So yeah.
It can be every time your credit card gets paid.
Yep,
Every time I get a notice.
So it's constantly changing.
it
All
can
the
be.
time. Can be, depends on how complex.
Yeah, and it depends on how much they report it. I personally, and it's in here, so I don't want to talk about it yet, but if there's a place where you can see your free credit score, I highly suggest people to do that. I use, with me being the old person that I am at heart, I use Credit Karma. Don't go by Credit Karma if you're looking to buy a car, buy a house, because it's normally not accurate. But it lets me know if, Kelly. It lets me know, say Kelly like stole my identity and she went to Target to get, I'm picking on you, really bad on Target. I went to Target and got a credit card. And so I would see it right away on Credit Karma. So that's why I've applied for things and I know where I am in Credit Karma, where I am naturally. So I know my Credit Karma is a lot lower. Some people, Credit Karma is a lot higher. So I always tell people, hopefully no one is a diehard Credit Karma person, but I love it just to check it all the time, to make sure everything's yours.
Is there, like it says on here, people who use less of their credit are considered low risk.
People that are using less
So
of their,
that means what?
so that
You've already paid off your house and your car and all that kind of stuff, and you just have,
you're more likely to get a loan.
But if you're not doing anything,
yeah.
Then you're
your,
looking
your
at that.
score goes down.
Mhm.
You need to have some activity
Absolutely.
And does
to
that
keep it
include
up,
credit
because
cards?
if it's too paid off and there's no activity, it gets stale, and
Yeah.
then they don't know about you
Right.
anymore.
But then
Yeah.
according to Dave Ramsey, you don't need to have a credit score because if you save your money and pay cash for everything and don't go into debt, you don't need a credit
That's
score.
But
They,
the truth is-
to me, I've done the Dave Ramsey, it's kind of your preference. I love cash, but at the end of the day, I'm a traveler. So if something happened, I'm in Vegas at 2 in the morning, would I have that much cash on me, or would I be able to go to the ATM and get 2,000? I'm talking about a crazy experience. So I might have like a credit card on me that I'm able to charge it.
I was gonna say, victims of domestic violence and natural disasters, like if you lived in Louisiana and there was a thing, or if you're a woman and you're trying to get away from your domestic violence partner, there are times when you need credit. You need credit to run. You need credit to get out. If you gotta get away from a domestic violence partner, you have seconds. You don't even have time to go to the bank.
Yeah.
And if there's credit, and then another thing, I think paying off everything is good, but there are limits. I've never met a millionaire or a billionaire that didn't use credit. You can't build a business on saving. You can't save yourself into 10. I know a lady at my church, one of the church, Zion Baptist or something, one of the big Baptist churches, they own about 5 McDonald's franchises.
Okay.
And to get those franchises, each franchise is millions of dollars. Well, she happens to be in a bank. You can't build a business with wealth without institutionalized or commercial credit. So there's a place to use credit. I've never met a rich person that didn't have credit.
So I'll also show, thank you for that input, I'll show some products that will help you rebuild or kind of establish your credit. But I don't think this is in here, feel free to take a picture when it's over, I can put this screen back on. This is probably the most important screen, no matter who I'm talking to. I'll have high school students, I'll have older people in the class, but they just don't know where the numbers are. So it kind of goes over from poor to exceptional credit. I am, like, if you interviewed my friends and family right now, they would say Shonda is crazy about her credit. Like, I look at my credit all the time, I make sure nothing's gonna affect it, because like you said, you never know when an emergency happens. You never know, like there might be, I'm someone who wants to get rental property in the future, I might find a good house, and I'll need my credit to be excellent today. So the 578 or below, that's poor credit. Fair is like 580 to 669. And good credit is 670 to 739. Very good is 740 to 799. And exceptional is 8 to 8. I can tell you as First Financial, to really get a loan, a personal loan or a business loan, your credit needs to be around 680.
Question,
Absolutely.
what is your recommendation for age to start the credit journey? Like you're saying, college campuses, you can get a credit card, but what do you recommend?
I would say it depends on the kid, because you can get in trouble right away,
Yeah.
definitely. But as soon as possible. I have a coworker who put his son on his credit card without even knowing, because you can put him on younger, so like 16.
Yeah.
Once he was 18, he's older than 18, I believe he's like 21. His credit is excellent. He never even knew he was on a joint signer on a credit card, and his dad was just using it and paying it off. Yeah. And we'll go over kind of more into that question on when to get started, because that's what I kind of missed.
Yeah.
So I love, when I don't know how old the girls were that were right here.
11th grade.
Okay, I love teaching that age because this is stuff I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
To be in the position that I'm in a lot earlier. So the strategies to build credit are to open a line of credit. So, and then request that your payment history be reported. With banks and things like that, you don't really have to request. I'm not really for sure why that's up there because I don't, sometimes you can request your rent payments to be reported, so I think that's what they mean. And then open a joint account that's optional and pay all your bills on time and in full. So if you don't have any credit or to rebuild your credit, there's products out there. And I don't think I have it with me, but we have like secured cards. If anyone's not aware what a secured card is, it's just like a unsecured card, but you actually secure your money into a savings account. So say you have $300 and you bring it to First Financial, I want to get a secured card. You have to do an application. We'll take your $300, put it into a savings account that it's secured. You're not able to just get the money out. Once you're approved, you'll get the credit card and that's your limit. So your limit would be $300. The good thing about First Financial with our secured cards is after a year of paying your payments on time, managing the account well, they'll review it and possibly put you on an unsecured card. So at that point, you're able to get your money back and maybe increase your limit. With kind of your question, I would definitely start out, when I started building my credit, is I got my secured card. What I personally did is, I can't remember who asked if you're not using your credit. I think it was agreed. Okay. This is something that I have, my mom has good credit, but she never uses it. So I told her what to do is to get the things that you do on a regular basis. So this week, no matter what happens in the world, I go to the grocery store once a week, I get gas once a week, no matter what happens. I put it on my credit card, and then either when I get paid or when I just feel like paying it, I pay that off, right? So I'm a shopper, so I know, like I said, I know myself when I go shopping, I don't shop with a credit card because it's easier to be like, hey, I brought cute work clothes, the bill comes, it's only $20, I won't pay it all. But when I pay my groceries and my my groceries and my gas, I'll pay that all off. That's something we do all the time. So that's something.
What about debit card? Is that not the same thing?
It's not. So debit card's attached to your checking account. So it'll come out immediately. So a credit card is pretty much like a line of credit that is technically not your money. I'm terrified of fraud. I would hate if anybody frauded my account. So sometimes when I travel a lot, like I said, and I'll go to a store and I'll be like, I love what they have, but it just seems sketchy. Like in me working for a bank, I'm looking for the skimmer and everything like that. I'll use my credit card because I know if they fraud that, that's not my money, that's the bank's money.
So when you talk about building credit though, I mean, because you brought up a good point about a debit card, are you building credit at all if you just use a debit card?
You are not. Nope.
So you
That has
want to
nothing
do
to do
like a
with it.
secured card.
If you need a
The
secured
debit card
card.
is just using your money.
Yeah, I know, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about these kids and
Yeah.
helping them grow and, okay.
You wanna have a and then before I kind of go on that, because since we're talking about rebuilding or establishing your credit, which the kids you were talking about would be more establishing, we do have an amazing product. If you don't mind, I'm gonna take one of these. It is a credit achiever. This product is not offered at a lot of banks. I was lucky enough, before I worked for First Financial, I found it at another bank, but I'll tell you the difference between First Financial and why we're definitely better, because everybody was in the position to be able to get it. But it is a credit achiever, and it kind of works as a secured credit card. When someone comes to me and say, hey, I have someone who's 18, doesn't build credit, I have this product with a secured card. If someone's older and says, I have credit, but I'm looking to rebuild my credit, this is my go-to. I have family members who do this, I swear by it. So basically what it is a secured loan or a line, and you're paying yourself. So it goes from $300 all the way up to $25,000. We'll just need to verify your income. So if you're a work for an employer, the last 2 pay stubs. If you were self-employed, the last 2 taxes. And the only thing we're looking for in your income is that you can afford the payments every month. So I tell people, don't go for the $1,000 or $2,000 if you can't afford the payments, but go for the $500. So let's just say everybody here is gonna apply, we're gonna do the $500. It is $42 a month. So the $42 a month will come from your checking account and go into a secured savings account. So every month, $42, just like you pay your cell phone bill, just like you pay your Duke bill, will go for 42 and you're checking into your savings account. The kicker is, it's a trick to the credit bureau. So on your credit bureau, it looks like we gave you a loan and you're making payments. I think everyone looks like they got it. When I first heard about this product, I was like, I don't understand. Because First Financial, the bank is not making any money off of you. At the end of the year, you get all of your money back. So you get the $500 back and any interest you earn. I just had a guy close out from last year, I think he got like $11 back from us, but that's free money. But it definitely, one, will help you save. I have a really good friend who is a horrible saver. Like, there was one time I'm like, give me what you're trying to save, keep it at my house. She called the next day, like, I need it. I'm like, take your money. So we tried to do this with her, and it worked. She did it right before Black Friday, because we're both shoppers, and she got the money out right at Black Friday. But it also helped on her credit. So this is something that I did very, very early when I realized that I need some kind of credit. I went to an actual credit union that I had to put my money up first. So I had to put $3,000 in an account plus make the payments to myself every month, which everyone is not in that situation. This is a really good product. Anybody have any questions on this product? And that's a product, so if you're thinking, if you're applying for something and they're like, you might have credit cards, but you don't have any loans or lines, lines on your credit, that's a really good product to have. Because when I was in the situation, everybody would turn me down. They're like, you don't have bad credit, you just don't have any credit. I had a secured card, and I'm like, went to my dad, like, what am I supposed to do? Get a car loan? And I don't want a car loan because he gave me a car and I was having free payments. So that would definitely help. So, no questions? Okay. So the credit bureau. So there's actually 3 credit bureaus. If you're applying for a loan, you can ask the bank what they actually pull or what they look for, because your score could be different on each bureau. So the 3 ones are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And this is another important screen. Yay! It is in the pamphlet. So this kind of tells you what your credit score is built up with. This is huge as well because I was at a point where my credit score was not moving and I didn't know why. So the largest amount that builds up your credit score is the amount that you owe. And then probably the second amount is your payment history. I would say your payment history is super huge. I have some pamphlets on mortgages if anybody's interested in getting a mortgage. I'm not a mortgage loan officer by any means, but I do know that when you do apply for a mortgage, they might say, hey, why did you miss your payment with your Capital One a year ago? I'd say the most definitely 2 things are the amount you owe and the payment history, and then also the types of credit. So that goes back into how that's important to have a line of credit or a credit card, and then new credit. That's one that I see a lot, because if you're looking for a car and you go to a car dealer shop, I hope no one has went through this on a bad thing, but you'll go to a car dealer shop and they'll run your credit like 12 times to see what bank's gonna pick you up. So if you need maybe a house loan or a credit card in the future, we're gonna say, what were they doing? They were going crazy, and it makes the bank look, can we trust you? Can we rely on you to make your payments? So new credit is very important, and then the length of your credit history. So that was the biggest one with me because I started late. So the earlier, the kind of better, because they're like, we can trust you. Anybody have questions for that? And then the cost of co-signing. So this is kind of a scenario, I'll kind of go through it a little bit. So basically co-signing is when, say Miss Heather has way better credit than me and I don't have good credit and she's an awesome friend and says, hey, I want to co-sign for you. She
wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
She would not do it.
So the thing is,
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
This is 310. So the thing is she really has to trust me, because if I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna drive off this new car, I don't care about my credit, I'll fix it in the future. She's being stuck with that, and me not making the payments is gonna affect her credit as well. So be very, very cautious who you co-sign for. A lot of banks, it doesn't matter if her credit was good and mine was bad, they might still turn us down because of my credit. So it kind of depends. So this just says Anna's house is in foreclosure. She has taken some steps to improve her credit and now is eligible for a loan. Anna wants to use a loan to try to stop foreclosure process, but she has a problem. She needs someone to co-sign. should her best friend Bella co-sign on a loan with her? Or how would a co-signer affect Bella's credit? So Bella's credit is basically gonna be affected because it's like her getting that loan or line of credit as well. So what is a credit report? So basically a credit report is a snapshot of your credit profile, including your credit history. And credit reports help lenders such as financial institutions understand how creditworthy you are. That is whether you're likely to repay a loan. So that's what they're looking at, is your history. So if you have a credit card and you are skipping payments, they're probably gonna look at that like, are we gonna give her a loan? Why would she pay us back? As well. But keep in mind, kind of everything is on your credit score. It can go back very far, so keep that in mind when making the payments and kind of missing payments. And then getting your credit report, I believe that's in here.
It is.
Okay, awesome. So you can get your free credit report. That website is awesome.
Can I say something about the credit report?
Absolutely.
I froze my credit report, and yet I froze all three of them.
Sure.
But you can, if I'm not applying for a loan. But there are some banks, and when I went and looked on my credit report, even with a frozen bank credit payment, banks and certain insurance companies can snoop into your credit report. And so I saw these banks, other banks and big insurance companies, and she said, oh yes, banks and banks and insurance businesses, they pay the credit unions to give them your information. And I didn't know this. Yes, just because you put a freeze on your credit account doesn't mean that, it means that the average person can't snoop, but that doesn't mean, that's why you get solicitations from insurance companies and because banks share that information in one big pot, and that is not protected by a credit freeze.
So were you applying for credit if you don't have things? Or they were just looking?
No, when Equifax had their breach, they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'll freeze mine.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found out is, I saw, when you get the printout, which is 11 pages, I got 11 pages, it showed all these banks that I hadn't applied for loans and all these insurance companies. He says, oh, yes, we're allowed to do that. So there's certain information that the major credit unions can sell to financial institutions.
So I know with us, if you had a freeze on your account and say you wanted to apply for the credit achiever,
We have to undo the freeze.
we have to undo the freeze. So
And then I
we
close it
technically-
right back up.
Yep, you could do that. But also that brings up kind of a good point I received them probably, I think today when I checked my mail, I literally had 5. Like, you're pre-qualified for a credit card. Be careful with that because they don't know your true credit score. So anybody who kind of wasn't responsible, maybe just a shopper, like, hey, Christmas is coming, I'm pre-qualified, I'm gonna apply, and you get turned down, and that messes up your credit.
And where do you think they got that information from to send you?
Well, a lot of like banks, if you already have a credit card with us and you make your payments sometimes, they'll automatically pre-qualify.
But we
Agreed.
older people, we don't get this stuff from our old bank. We get it from, I'm sure everybody gets bombarded with all these things.
Yeah, I get emails.
They can pull all kinds of shopping information and other things out of the omniverse out there. And, it doesn't take very much data apparently because you get those.
I'm
That's
being
one point
called.
to always know what your credit is. Always, always, always. There's so many people that come in, especially if you have a common name or if you're a junior, and they think their credit's where it needs to be, and it's not because there's fraud or someone has looked at their credit.
They even call me about, I'm student loan, and I don't even have a student loan.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
There's so many scammers.
I don't even have a student loan. Well, I was just plain stupid, you can forgive yourself. I thought that was
And
stupid.
speaking of student loans, and I feel like everybody has a student loan nowadays, she's very fortunate, I could say. Student loans and medical bills, I feel like everyone has medical bills as well. So when banks look at that, we know everyone has student loans, everyone has medical bills, just make sure you're paying some kind of payment. I tell all my customers, call them and kind of negotiate the payment, see if you can just make a payment plan, $10 a month, it's gonna show something. This just kind of goes over like reading your credit report, what's gonna be on there, so public records, lawsuits, bankruptcy, judgments, unpaid taxes. I would say when I'm doing loans for people, that's probably the huge thing that's just, as soon as we see unpaid taxes, it's a stop right there. Personal information, so your name, your date of birth, social security number, your address, and then credit accounts, so those are open accounts, closed accounts, if you settle accounts, it'll show on there that you settled accounts, and then just credit inquiries. So that's what she was saying, that maybe if someone's looking at your credit, or you go to Target and try to apply for a credit card, you'll see what it says. So just important dates to review on your credit, the date the account was open, the date of maybe a missed payment, dates of public records, dates of credit reports. Like I told you, I'm kind of more over the top with my credit, but I know when I first started my credit, I know if anything happened, like when I was younger, now I'm showing my age, I was 21, I had surgery. And I was super naive. I didn't think to call like my creditor and say, hey, I'm having surgery, I'm gonna be out of work for a couple months. So if somebody brings that up back when I was 21, I can say, hey, I had surgery. As long as the banks know what was going on, they can have work with you. So I say, no matter what you're going through, if you're going through divorce, if you're going through bankruptcy, illness, or just COVID, you lost your job, make sure you know the time frame that you were going through that, so you can kind of prove it. So steps to repair your credit. So two things I already gave you, the secured credit card, the credit achiever, sitting down with the credit specialist. If anybody would like his information, I can definitely connect you guys. But just sitting down and knowing where you're at is probably the best thing you can do to repair your credit. So begin making your debt payments on time. Contact your lender if you need help creating a repayment plan, kind of like what I said. The worst thing they're gonna say is no. My thing is, I tell friends and family members, I tell my customers, they cannot see you over the phone. So if you call and say, I had a friend that lost her job during COVID and she could not pay her credit card bill, just call. She was so scared, she called a day before the credit card was due. When she called, they were like, okay, we have a program. I think it was like 6 months. I'm like, see, they can't see you over the phone. They want to work with you. And the worst thing they can say is no. And just inform the credit bureaus and companies that provided information to the bureaus to report errors on your credit report. So if you ever see an error, you can report it. They'll probably have you send in information to get it taken off or prove that it's an error. So monitor your credit report. I probably said that 5 times. Pay your bills on time and regularly. I tell everybody, even if you can't afford to pay more than the minimum, at least pay the minimum. And maybe next month you'll be able to pay $10 a month and not have it go late. One, you're gonna get a late fee. Two, you're gonna get that hit on your credit. And then get credit counseling if you need it, and consider financial products. And then credit report scam. So this is actually a scenario. So just keep in mind, the lady back said that someone called her for a student loan. She didn't have student loan. So I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't do really anything over the phone. So if you call me and you're like, hey, you're from my bank, so really call me because I work for my bank. But I would suggest to go in if you don't feel comfortable whatsoever, because it just takes that little giving a full social security number. I know the bank would never call you unless you're applying for something over the phone. And if I was giving you an application for you over the phone, I would warn you, like, I'm gonna ask you for sensitive information, like your social security number. If you don't feel comfortable with me in person. So yeah, if you feel any red flags, if you feel like it's any scams or anything like that, I would even hang up, maybe call that number back, or go into that location. Credit counseling, so this kind of gives you a generic of credit counseling that you can go online. I also have people local that would be able to go to that. And then just strategies to improve your credit. This is huge as well, because you can have an amazing credit, but be all the way to your limit, and that's going to affect you. So use less than 30% of your available credit. But I do personally, as I know where my credit cards, I know what the limits are, I know where my 30% is, and I pretend in my head that that is my limit, so I never go over it. Because I have gone over before, and my credit, I'm like, what happened to my credit? It literally went down until I made that payment. And then do not max out your credit cards. That's probably kind of the worst thing that you can do. your bills on time, and then pay off your credit card and bills each month if full, if possible. I know that can be very, very hard, but like I said, what I do in not emergencies, but on my everyday credit card, I pay my groceries and my gas. So every month I'm paying my bill on time. And then pay off your loans on time, and do not apply multiple loans and credit cards at the same time. And then make financial plan of debt management plan to reduce debt. Creating a monthly budget is huge, because like I said, even if you can't afford to pay the full credit card off, maybe use it because they're emergencies, plan your budget out so you can at least make the monthly payment. And then review your credit report for accuracy. Questions?
You said the bank, First Financial, you'll get a loan, your credit is around what amount?
680.
680.
It's pretty much a sweet spot.
And how does the loan change as your credit goes up? Do you get lower interest as your credit goes up? And
You would not.
Okay.
You can refinance the loan.
Uh-huh.
Your interest rate might be better if you come in and your credit score is 750.
Okay.
680.
so when you apply,
Yes.
it does affect the price of
Absolutely.
interest, but it doesn't change over if you improve your credit over time. Okay. About
But
how
if your
much?
credit bills go up, you can refinance
Okay.
the loan.
What is the step? Do you have an idea of what is it? Quarter point per every point?
Never been asked.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to figure out our rate screen. I can get that to you though.
I'm just curious more.
It's
than
a
anything.
significant
Yeah,
difference.
okay.
Definitely.
One big strategy I have seen with family members who have a very low income relative, like a relative that works at Speedway, or I hate to say it, Walmart or Kroger, they're in retail, so they're making 10, 12, or they're a nurse's aide, 10, 12 an hour, 14 an hour. They can't use that system.
Mhm.
But what I've seen relatives do, older relatives will go and buy products for them.
Okay.
And have, in other words, the family, they become Fairchilds, the family becomes the bank. I've seen this happen.
Okay.
Her daughter needs a house, she
Sure.
can't afford a house. Father goes and takes his good credit, buys the daughter a house, and then the
It's in
daughter
his name.
allegedly pays the parent back, but that usually doesn't happen. But it keeps your poor relative, those strategies work good if you're at least a little bit middle, like if you're making at least maybe 40, 50,000, but there are so many people, my daughter lives in Winter Terrace, and I know that
Yeah.
there are so many people who are in that 9 to 15,000, they don't have any extra. There is no cushion, there's nothing. And what works, what I've seen family members do, older people who are settled and retired, and they've got the chunks of money,
Sure.
they will go, they'll be the bank.
Mhm.
And when you go into that and you're banking your poor relative, you know going in that you're not doing this for money, because you may not get paid. If you get paid, you're gonna do it irregular, but it keeps your child or your mother from being homeless. And that's something you have to think about, because I'm just gonna say, money can disappear, like boom.
Absolutely.
All you need, I'm a retired registered nurse.
Okay.
All you need is one good illness.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, most people don't realize this, but even if you've got, say you got Medicare, you got one of the plans that's supposed to be the Medigap and all that stuff, and you've got so much is not covered. We've had people who die of cancer. When I was a student in the 70s, their cancer medicine was $1,000 a month. Now I have people that I know with cancer, their cancer medication is $1,000 a week. So you can wipe out, actually, a portfolio of a couple $100,000 is nothing if you get sick. So having 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 is nothing. You really almost have to have a couple of million to live out. And then even with that, I've had friends who were doctors, they made good money, and their wife was a doctor. Guess what happened? They lived too long. Yes, if you live long enough and you're sick enough, you have to pay for private nurses and nursing homes, you can run through a couple of $1 million and reach 90 years of age flat broke. But the sweet spot is when these people got to that point where they didn't have any money, they had successful children. And the successful children reached in and paid grandma's rent for $1,000 a month. And they reached in and they paid their sister's car. So I think people need to think about also private banking. If you have money that you're just sitting on, you need to think about helping somebody with it.
I would say everyone's different, everyone's situation is different. I told you guys from the beginning, I'm huge on saving, I'm huge on budgeting. I've had people, like, I can't remember the example you gave me, but people, a lot of people from Winton Terrace definitely come to me and say, this is what I think, this is how many kids I have, I can't afford to save at all. And I said, if you trust me and you really wanna save, write down all your budget, and I come back in 2 weeks, write down everything you spent money on. And I can believe that fast food, you know, they have to trust me, so go shopping, right, cigarettes and everything like that. Go to the grocery store instead of doing this. This one girl, she literally lived, I wouldn't even say paycheck to paycheck, because she said she got paid on Fridays. On Thursday morning, she had no money. Her tank was full, but every Friday she needed her money. She came to me, I helped her save. It was, I think it was $300 over probably like 8 months, which doesn't seem that much to somebody. She had an emergency. She didn't need to get a check cashing, go to a check cashing place to get a loan. She was able to use that small amount. And now she realized, hey, I take my kids all the time to McDonald's. Maybe we don't have to go to the movies. Let's watch a movie at home and save. So I definitely believe everyone can save. Because there's people there that I've helped that were like, I don't even have money. I don't get paid for helping people with their budget, but they were like, I don't have money to help you with this, or for you to help. And we found money somewhere. Good scenario, though. Does anyone else have any questions? I was gonna say, you have a face like I do, because when I'm in a class, everyone always looks at me like, do you have a question? I'm like, no, just looking at you.
Is there gonna be a class for how to be a tight one? Yes, I wanna, not like, on TLC where they're really tight.
Tight with like your money and stuff?
Yeah, I wanna be tighter, I wanna be like, I mean, I'm
You're going in the
really,
wrong direction. We wanna be able to give and give abundantly.
Yeah.
but I really want to be, I don't know, just my personal feeling is that I wanna learn how to get the most savings out of it. You know, like, I even feel guilty when I bought a thing and something, it was an outfit and another dress, and I only paid $15 for it. I could afford it, but I felt guilty because I spend that money, but I wear it.
Sure. Have you ever put yourself on a budget?
Yeah, I do.
Because that's what I do.
But then I'm like my financial advisor,
Yeah.
do things can't afford to do stuff, and I feel the opposite way when I think about money. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always been somewhat like that when I was a kid too. Like,
It's not a bad thing to be tight. My dad is very, very tight. But he's always been there for me when I had emergencies, and he's never had to struggle, so it's not a really bad thing.
and I don't think I'm tight enough, so then
Yeah.
that's another whole
Maybe she can teach you
So I thought we were gonna talk about our wants and needs. No. With that versus,
Yes.
How young,
There's two now.
go Glenn, sorry. How young do you think you can start this type of teaching? We have a friend who was a professor at UC who was trying to get it in high school.
I don't think there is an age that you can, like, too early. I don't have kids yet, but I have 2 nephews and a niece, and my niece, if you give her $10, she knows to save half of that, and then she can spend the other half. I don't think and she's 8, so there's not really too young.
I'm gonna
So I am.
send you to him because you'd be great to teach kids.
Absolutely. Because I'm kind of tight. I told him, do you really need this, or would you like a savings account? But yeah, I don't think if you guys have kids or grandkids or family members, I don't think there is a young age whatsoever. I found on Amazon this kind of fake ATM. I'm a banker, so I look for stuff like that. And my nephew who's in kindergarten knows how to do an ATM, it's a fake card, there's money in there, it gets it out, so that's just gonna put him more in advance than the other kids.
Sam over here is first.
Yes.
I get into this because I sell a lot of things.
Okay.
Okay. And people keep trying to give me checks. And I said, no, I really prefer that you give me a credit card. Oh, I can't do that.
Do you have like a scanner?
Well, no. I mean, it doesn't matter on my end. It's
Sure.
there is the appearance that using a check is safer than using a credit card. Can you speak to that?
Yes. I try to tell my grandmother, checks scare me, because on the bottom of the check, the first number is your routing number, and on the next check is your account number. So there are so many smart, I can never be a fraudster, but there's so many fraudsters out there who can make another check. I could probably go online. I work out all the time, so I could probably go to Nike.com and put somebody's routing number and account number in and buy my whole card.
A lot of e-checks.
Yeah. So with the
I'm
debit,
amazed that
Absolutely.
there isn't more of that, because it's so easy to do.
I paid with a check for a real estate seminar, and I told them, this was it, I was just buying this little thing. You know, they deducted money out of my account, my check, yeah. They could, because they had the routing number.
Yep.
And they want you on this monthly thing, so they can get money every month. They want front end, back end, and middle end.
and they have all of their.
Yes, and they had my information, so I got scammed, but I like using, I use credit card for everything, and I pay it off every month, because I feel at least I have a fighting chance with a credit card.
Sure. It's not your money.
If there's a fraud, you're not responsible.
And now, well,
If you
the bank will
report it.
still fight for your money, but it's gonna take like 7 to 14 days. So think about that. Your rent's still gonna come up. Yes.
Speaking of that, can you talk a little bit about Venmo and Zelle?
Would you like me to, Alex?
How do you feel that compares to, using a check? You know, that's the way that the kids all pay for everything now.
Cash App.
And-
Cash App,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, so how secure is that? How, you know, what do you think?
So I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have really an opinion on that because I don't use it because I'm a old lady at heart. But what I could go back to what I told you is I have multiple checking accounts. So I'm a shopper. I love going to small events. I'm not for sure what you sell back there, but if I went to an event or what you were selling and bought something, if I know I'm gonna pay you on my Cash App or Venmo, it's gonna come out of my Play account. So if you fraud me or if anything happens, I know there's a lot of stuff with Cash App right now that stuff goes to the government if you get so much money in, it's gonna be from my Play account. So I would say it's kind of the same, I just would not have like your whole savings in that account that you're using. Yeah.
I just want to give an example of something. My daughter has student loans,
Okay.
and there was a lady. She's in Florida, and they allege that she's 82-year-old African American. They allege she had $200,000 in outstanding student loans. With student loans, I didn't know this because my daughter was crying the other day. 2 years, they can take your Social Security. They can take your checks. They told this lady at 82 she would not get another Social Security check for 20 years. She never went to college. Here's what, they don't know what happened. She had to be on television before they stopped taking her money. So we don't know what happened, but people can go out and get loans. And then I had a personal experience when I was a prosecutor where this girl was on drugs and she got her mother's information. She knew her mother's maiden name, all this stuff. She got $200,000 worth of loans in her parents' name. Because who would better than your own kid that knows your information?
And you get loans online.
Yeah, she got $200,000, she was a drug addict.
That's why it's so important to always check your credit.
And always check your bank account. I did this morning while I was before I was paying bills, and I noticed this charge from Apple, and I saw Apple. And I called my husband, and he was playing games, and he wanted to buy coins. I said, "Oh,
Call Richard.
And I got him in
Call-
trouble for it. He
call
said he
Richard.
wouldn't do it again.
But you would have never known if you didn't check your bank account.
Yeah, and I checked it, and I gotta clear up something, because something else shows up on my bank account that I don't know why. So,
Yes, ma'am.
What are your thoughts on, debit card versus credit card?
Which one do I go to? Definitely credit card. But I pay my credit cards off fully, and the reason I go to credit card is just for fraud.
What?
Fraud purposes. Yep. So they can put skimmers on ATMs, they can put skimmers when Target had, fraud, they can put skimmers on the little swiping thing. So I just would rather pay it on my credit card, and pay my credit card.
Gas station.
Gas station.
Yeah, gas stations, yeah.
Going out to eat, you give your credit card to the lady and she walks away with it.
Mhm.
This is the only country where we do that. Most of the places they
Yeah.
don't agree to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested, when you go to the ATM or you're at Target and you're making a purchase, I have longer nails, but if you put your finger down there, if you feel anything wiggly, I would not use your credit card. Or you could use your credit card, I would not use your debit card. So the scammers, they're wiggly. My mom hates going shopping. She's like, we don't understand. But my mom also did get prodded at, where was it, Target, I believe. I'm like, you don't check the scammers. But you guys have all, I don't know if anyone has any more questions.
I'm interested in your, what you said about Winton Terrace. I truly believe that there are some people who think they can't save,
And they can't,
but I sat down and added up, how many times a certain person I know goes to McDonald's, goes to whatever that place where you buy the Mexican food, a place where you go out and buy chicken and fish. I added up all that, plus movies. When I moved to my neighborhood, my mortgage took up one paycheck. We didn't go to movies, I baked my own cakes. I even mended my underwear. I gave up stockings and wore pants. Yeah, I sold my bras and underwear for years because I wanted to pay my mortgage. I stopped getting my hair done. I did what I had to do. I didn't buy pizza, I made spaghetti. I did what I had to do to pay my mortgage. It took up one paycheck. Some of these, but when I talk to these people that live in Winton Terrace, they say, well, it's the only joy I get. And they say, if you go through a line and you buy candy and you can buy candy and stuff for $1 or $2 and get joy. You can buy a pack of cigarettes for $5 or $7 and get joy, but I can't afford a car. So what they tell me is I'd rather get joy for $7 and some nails than think about a house for $100,000 that I can never afford. So they live like this. They live for the immediate, they don't see any hope in looking long range.
it's a mindset.
It's a
as well.
mindset.
You
So
can go on
definitely-
preaching, Henrietta.
I have some extra cards that they can use.
maybe
All right, well-
their parents didn't teach them about money.
We got a few prizes that you get for being here the last one, and donated by First Federal. We did. Yeah, I got Ken, I got Sharon, I got Kennedy. So everybody's in here, and what do we? Oh, we got 3. Chick-fil-A. All right, 3 Chick-fil-A.
No, it's not gluten free.
And then,
Well, maybe you'll win the bank.
yeah.
I wasn't in the
Or
bank.
you could have a milkshake.
No, I don't do cow's milk either.
No.
Yeah,
And we also have a bank
You get when you can sell it.
for
I'll give
you.
it to my
Yeah,
husband
that's true.
because he thinks I'm a cheap.
I actually ordered 2 of those for Christmas.
Oh, did you? Okay.
They spring.
Okay, all right, so, first one. Okay,
Kenya.
Oh.
yes, Kenya Lou.
Yeah, this one.
All right, well, we'll let you represent
Yeah.
her. What do you think she wants?
The Chick-fil-A.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
very good. Kenya, there you go. Tell her that's her winning
Tell
card.
her I'm taking it.
Yeah, right. You tell her she's taking you to Chick-fil-A. Right? 1, 2. This is Sam's stare. There you go. Want to go Chick-fil-A or back?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Good choice.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Third one is June Elwood. Chick-fil-A or the bank. All right, very good. And then the last one, the winner of the bank is Barry.
Try another one.
There you go. There you go, Jim. Thanks again, Shonda, for this evening. Thank you for this.
Feel free, I brought some swag stuff, there's some more flyers I'm gonna pass out, and there's chips as well.
There's more stuff up here on your way out. There's even, you don't have to get your name drawn. Yeah.
My daughter,